And
hello and welcome to A Gypsy's Kiss, the book club. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Stick with us a couple of seconds and we have a very special announcement for you.
Oops.
Okay, so the timing was off on it just a little.
Here, we'll try it again. You ready for the
Go
special
ahead,
announcement?
Special announcement. Okay, so we wanted to announce that last night our friend Rick McDonald, Illinois Ghost, on YouTube as well as his own blog, one of the members, I don't know if it's his daughter or its son, they had a new grandbaby, and it's baby Jager. So congratulations to Rick. We're really happy to see that both Rick and the baby are doing well.
Jager or Jagger?
Jagger. Sorry, did I say Jager?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Jagger.
Uh-huh.
It's Jagger, as in Mick, I guess.
Uh-huh.
It's a cute name.
Okay.
Congratulations. It's also one of those gender neutral names.
I suppose so.
Because he didn't say if it was a boy or a girl. Maybe he did. Maybe he told me that. But anyway, congratulations, Rick. The other announcement that we wanted to make was our friend Christy at KPRO, the Hint of Riches.
Another announcement?
Yeah, it is. Boom shakalaka. Our friend Christy at Hint of Riches has announced that she's going to be establishing a YouTube channel under her name, which I think is Christy K-Pro. Oh, there she is. It's K-Pro Chris Thor. And she'll be establishing a YouTube channel, and that's where she's going to be holding her Monday night chats with you guys. It will require you, in order to use it, it will require you to get a YouTube account, but we wanted to welcome Chris into the fold, into the YouTube Fenn tuber fold, and we're sure it'll be a lot of fun in the chat rooms. And although she announced that there would be no additional video or audio to start with, I imagine sooner or later she'll add that to the channel. So nice announcement on their part, and again, congratulations. So.
Oh.
Okay, you ready to get on with business here?
Sure. Like. Beep. Share. Subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Thumbs up. Send it out. Click the bell.
Were you not ready for this slide or what? Usually
I thought the housekeeping slide was next. I was confused.
Okay. Yes. Like, share this with your friends, family, business associates, and social networks. And if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you become one, because you will then become eligible to win one of our prizes. Today's prize is a copy of Aunt Lucy's original New Mexican cookbook. So subscribe, because you have to be a subscriber to win. And we'll have a trivia question for you at the end of today's show so that you can try to win it.
All right.
There we go.
Oh, housekeeping. Thank you to our moderators, Jimmy Fast, Joel Lewicki, Jason Eunice, Brian Eagle, and Eric Schmidt. These gentlemen are in our chat room to keep our chat safe and police the area, make sure everything's nice and neat, and nobody's getting out of hand, and shoo people off, you know, when they're getting off topic. Today's presentation is from The Thrill of the Chase, My War for Me, Chapter 17. Part number 6, which we called, what was this called? Oh, Thumbs Up. Or is it Philadelphia Caper?
Oh.
One of those. The Philadelphia Caper.
The Philly Caper.
That's what he called it.
Yeah.
So that's today, and that presentation will be followed by an open Q&A. We'd love to discuss anything to do with the book and anything else you'd like to talk about. And then right after that, Toby will have his giveaway of Aunt Lucy's cookbook.
I reduced the video delay to 0, so I'm just trying to see what's happening, whether or not it's keeping up with us.
Oh,
it's good.
Well, look at that.
Yeah.
Where's our moderators?
Moderators are in the room. Brian Eagle
No, I
is
meant, where's this picture?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's not keeping up with us. Okay, so
Well, that's the
today's
very beginning. You started over.
today's wine is Color Block. It's a Chardonnay from the Valle Central del País de Chile. But it's got another one. Let me read this to you. This is so good. Valle Central de Chile. This is a 2016 Chardonnay. Late in the fall, vineyards put on a vivid display of color, creating a patchwork of gold, crimson, and burgundy. Color Block wines are inspired by this explosion of color. This Chardonnay has rich flavors of pear, tropical fruits, and hints of cinnamon. A nice balanced wine that's perfect with creamy pasta dishes, roast chicken, or pan-seared salmon. We're doing the creamy pasta today for dinner.
Well, I don't know how creamy it is.
Well, I can add some cream to it.
You could add some wine to it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, little reduced wine, little...
So, here's to Rick and his new grandbaby.
And to 2,900 subscribers.
Woohoo.
Congratulations, well done. You know, I'm normally not a big fan of Chardonnays, but this is a good one. I like it. And I do pick up on that hint of cinnamon.
Yeah.
Very fruity.
Yeah.
Chilled
I got
nicely.
the pear and the fruit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We recommended Color Block Chardonnay from Valle Central del País de Chile. You don't actually have to say it in Spanish if you don't want, but
And it's not very expensive, so.
okay. You ready to rock and roll?
Probably
Oops, where are my notes?
Uh-oh. What do you do with them? There they are.
Okay. All right, here we go. Forrest Fenn Memoir Book Club. The Thrill of the Chase, My War for Me. We call it Chapter 17, although Fenn didn't number the chapters. And we are in the penultimate section of that chapter, part 6 of 7.
Yes.
I've been able to use the word penultimate twice
now.
Twice this week. That's
Last week was the penultimate time you were going to use it, I guess.
Good one. Good one. Okay, so The Thrill of the Chase by Forrest Fenn, Chapter 17, Foxtrot, My War for Me, Part 6, pages 96 to 98. Ooh, we still haven't gotten to the infamous page 99 yet.
Uh-oh.
Page 96, paragraph 2. As the months passed and I got back into the swing of Air Force life, which by then involved teaching other men to fly, my thoughts naturally started to analyze the things that had hitherto been but a blur of incoherent incidents. Wow.
I know.
How familiar is that?
That was a mouthful. Oh.
Well, that was also a mouthful, but you had to pick that one to start with, huh? Dang. Let's have your analysis on that, baby.
Hopefully that spurred some ideas for you.
It did.
Fenn had returned home and was finishing his Air Force career by teaching new pilots. That must have taken him back to the days when he was learning to fly as a young man in the Air Force. These last few years of his service would give him a chance to reassess his memories and come to terms with the changes he had experienced throughout his military career. And what would you like to say about it? Hitherto.
Yeah, hitherto my experience was last couple of years. So my last years of military service were spent. I returned to Fort Hood, Texas, to what was then an ASA battalion there, and then I was shipped out east to Fort George G. Meade, which was where NSA headquarters was, and I served there in as a military professional before I became a civilian. I just kind of transitioned into my role as a civilian. But that's the time where you work out, for most of us that returned from Vietnam, that's the time, those 2 years are the times to work out whatever issues you have, whether you do it on your own or with counseling or whatever you need, and it gives you the opportunity to start the rest of your life. And so I'm sure, I have a feeling that Fenn had the same experience that I did, and that was, okay, let me resolve these issues, whatever issues I had with it, and so that I can get on with my the rest of my life. Because like everything else in life, it doesn't have to be the Vietnam War, but like anything else in life, if you have something happen to you and you spend the rest of your life focusing on that event, whatever it is, it prevents you from moving forward. And so Not that you have to ignore it. As a matter of fact, it's worse if you ignore it, because then it comes back to haunt you in later years. But if you can get it worked out, whether on your own, with the help of the people that love you and you love back, or with the help of a counselor, it's best to move on, get on with the rest of your life. Otherwise, you're just stuck in that place for the rest of your life, and it's not pretty.
Would you like to move to the full screen?
I would. Thank you. That's a good idea. I was just looking at, I happened to glance over. Steve Gahagan says he can't see me. He can hear me, but he can't see me. Because I'm camouflaged.
Oh, you're so crazy.
Yeah, over to the Walmart, they had a sale on Realtree babies, so I picked up on 5 of these babies. So we'll be wearing these for a while now instead of the 5 white ones that I've got. So I
Is that a blend?
It's 90% cotton and 10% polyester, but that's in the netting in the back, to the cooling netting. So,
oh, right. It's got that flap in the back.
Yeah, that's where the polyester is.
There's a word here.
Walls.
Realtor.
Oh, Realtree.
Oh.
Realtree.
Okay.
You're
not a realtor?
No. Realtree is the copyright owner of this brand of camouflage.
Oh.
And no two shirts are the same because they're printed differently, but they also print them for literally everything else that you can think of to camouflage. And Realtree owns it.
So if you wear that on Saturday, you're going to disappear.
Yeah, you won't be able to find me. Oh, which brings up. Well, we'll tell you at the end of the show, because we got enough to talk about here.
All right.
What am I looking for?
Full screen.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
And then page 96, paragraph 4.
Page 96, paragraph 4. That flight had been many years before, 13 to be exact, on the 13th of July, 1956. He's referring to the flight that he took on the East Coast. I had taken an old T-33 jet trainer from, he mentions it, Stephenville, Newfoundland to Pope Field, North Carolina. A party at the Officers Club in Stevensville had detained me longer than I wanted, and although I was not a drinker, my body was already tired.
That word tired stuck out to me, and I thought, could this be the story that points to the phrase, I've done it tired and now I'm weak?
And it certainly had reason. He had a long day. He had a goodbye party at the Officers Club, and he let himself go. And then he created additional flight risk because he was flying at night. And you increase, you increase the amount of effort required to fly when you fly at night. So it must have been very difficult for him, and he could have done it. Tired. Page 97, paragraph 3. In order to stay awake, I started playing stupid games, moving my left hand in and out, looking at my glove as if I had not seen it before. Then, this is an indication of how tired he was, actually, because what happens is that part of your brain starts taking over, and you start eventually, if you're with someone, they start wondering whether or not you're just a little bit loony or loaded. Then, for no reason at all, I closed my fist, stuck my thumb out, and moved it close to my face, an inch away from my left eye. My God, I had completely covered up Philadelphia. I had covered up millions of people with my thumb, and it took me another dimension in my mind, a place I would not visit again until the grave marker entered into my life. Years later, I would meld these two thoughts into one, the sum of which would change my life. Wow.
I kind of put some dots and squished some paragraphs together there. But yeah, leaving out anything that just didn't specifically need to be said. It took me to another dimension in my mind. He went to another dimension in the multiverse. So Fenn explains that he is tired and trying to stay awake. Then he comes to some mental realizations that stay at the back of his mind for 13 more years. Could it be that the poem brings these stories and his whole life together in each phrase?
So what is the link? So he's referring, when I would not visit again. He went to another dimension, a place I would not visit again until the grave marker, referring to the grave marker that we read about in the last section, the one that he found near the waterfall, entered into my life. Years later, meaning, that's interesting, years later, I would meld these thoughts into one, the sum of which would change my life. So meld these thoughts, meaning the thought of covering Philadelphia with his thumb and the grave marker scene into something that changed his life.
Right.
Grave marker and thumb covering Philadelphia. So when I read the part about covering Philadelphia with his thumb, I was reminded of the story that he told where he was responsible. He had to sign out a nuclear weapon. And one of the interesting things about that nuclear weapon was that had he ever been required to drop that bomb, to let that bomb go, because he was in Germany. At the time, he was a member of NATO. They would have had to fight against the Russians. He would have been chartered with directing his attack at oncoming Russian forces, and he would have had to drop a bomb that would have killed a lot of people besides the Russians, and of course would lay desolate part of the land for half years to come, half-lives to come. So I wondered whether or not the reference to the thumb covering up Philadelphia was a reference to that thumb of his having that kind of power, that not that you release the thumb. There's a process for releasing, a multi-step process for releasing a nuclear weapon. And I'm wondering whether or not the last of those processes, after you went through, the confirmation, the codes, the flipping of switches, et cetera, because they're not going to let you drop a bomb in the same way that you would release a 500-pound bomb or fire a 20-millimeter cannon. But I wonder if what he was thinking about is how much power there was in that thumb, should he have ever carried a nuclear weapon. The other thing that interests me is that relationship between the thoughts. What's the relationship between the thought of the marker, the grave marker, and the thought of his thumb covering Philadelphia? So, by the way, so here's a fun thing for you that has nothing to do with
your finger,
little baby finger. So every time you think the moon is really, really big at night, stick out your arm to its full length, hold up your little finger, and what will happen is your little finger will cover the moon. And there's a reason for that. It's a trick in your brain. The moon is never bigger than the size of your little finger on an outstretched arm. No matter how big it looks to you, no matter how small it looks to you, you can always cover it with a little finger. That's something I used to share with my children. So, not sure what that has to do with anything.
Okay.
Page, I can go on. That's a question.
I know you can. Okay.
Oh. May I go on?
Sure, why not?
Page 98, paragraph 4, the innocuous incident made me wonder how important an average individual could be in the whole scope of life. We all live in the small cocoon of our own surroundings and a few friends and places. We are victims of our tiny environments. We stop when the light is red and pay the gas bill when it is due. Strangers move in and out of our lives only to punctuate the moments with something useful, like a waiter or the paper boy. The human mind somehow wonderfully conjectures that the body in which it resides is important. It is constantly judging others and identifying faults without relating them to itself. In many ways, we are but sheep following the dictates of other minds, many of which are not as fruitful as our own. So is there a deeper meaning to it all? Can we pour all of the non-physical thought and happenings into one cohesive boiling pot that will give us something useful? Could some subliminal gene perhaps be the answer to all that we cannot see but know it is there? I would remember the feeling it brought, and I would later tie into others that would be equally as humbling.
Well, it seems like he had a metaphysical moment there, huh?
He definitely did have a woo-woo moment.
Woo-woo.
That was Fenn's biggest woo-woo moment right there.
Well, Fenn is pointing us to a summary of his thoughts throughout his life. The poem is this summary. but it is only to be understood by the one who has lived that life. Once he moved to Santa Fe after traveling throughout his Air Force career. He stayed in that tiny environment for the rest of his life. Would you like to do the questions, or shall I?
Go ahead and do the questions, because I want to say something, and then I want to say something else.
Questions to ponder. What tiny environment is Fenn pointing towards in this text? What subliminal gene provides the answer to all that we cannot see but know is there? All right.
So can I tell a life-changing story?
Sure.
Oh, this is the one that we promised we were going to talk about.
Oh, this is that one?
So you have to tell your part of the story, too.
When you're done.
Okay.
I don't want to ruin it.
So one of the things about having served and having been in Vietnam is that there are many instances of things that are going to change your life. And again, one of the byproducts is that you have you leave Vietnam coming back home with a whole new respect for life. And there are several things that happen to you. Number one, you realize how small your life really is in the context of time and space, and what you can do about it. And the other thing too is you build up a confidence that says, if I survive this, I can pretty much do anything. But one of the events that had the most impact, the biggest impact on me, was a helicopter crash. So I spent most of my time in Vietnam down in the Delta area, south of the Mekong River, south of Can Tho, which is the biggest city in the Delta. It's on the south side of the Mekong River. It's actually on a tributary of the Mekong River. But I also spent most of my time there as an advisor to an Arvin Ranger unit as we served the needs of the 509th Radio Research Group at Davis Station in Benoit on Tan Son Nhut Air Base. Anyway, so I traveled all over the Delta, and what happens in the Delta is that you need places to land for both fixed-wing aircraft and rotary-wing aircraft, a rotary-wing aircraft being a helicopter, and you can land it pretty much anywhere. But you also had to have places where fixed-wing aircraft could land, not big ones, not big, the equivalent of C-130s now, but C-7 Caribous and things like that. And so what they would do is they would send the engineers out, and they would find a flat lay of land, usually marshy in its nature, because that's how the flat land is in the Delta. And then they would put the trees back in a 100 to 200 meter berm, so that there was this big clear space. And then they had these huge metal plates that you couldn't pick up. I mean, they were just, they were 75 feet long and 5 feet wide, and they hooked together. And they would string these out to make a long faux runway on this marshy land, and it would settle into the marsh without getting wet necessarily. Although, of course, when it rained in the monsoon, it would get wet. But it laid out this what was intended to be a temporary airstrip, but it was great for rotary wing aircraft and small fixed wing aircraft. And I had gone down there with my team, an Arvin captain. A captain is a Dai Huy in Vietnamese. And we had gone down there, and the only air traffic control on one of these runways was a big arrow painted, a huge arrow painted at one end, pointing the direction of travel, basically. So if you landed, you got into it and landed in that direction, and you took off in that direction. What happened was we were in a helicopter. We were in a UH-10 Huey helicopter. And it had a captain and a warrant officer as pilot and co-pilot. There were 2 door gunners, and there was the Dai Huy and myself. And we started to take off. And the way, because we had to follow the air traffic control rules, the way that the helicopters took off is they basically rode down a couple of feet above the surface of the airstrip, this metal airstrip, and then they took off to the right at the end. And so we had taken off, and we were probably halfway down, but our aircraft was camouflaged against the backdrop of the jungle on the far end of the runway. And there was a U-9 Beaver, which is a small single-engine fixed-wing aircraft that was used by radio research to do signal intelligence collection. And they took off without seeing us. And what was happening is, as we started to lift above the tree line, higher than the tree line, they saw us, and did the same thing. They pulled high and right over us so that they wouldn't literally run into us, because that would have been death for everybody. At that point, we were about 50 feet above the ground, and we had turned into away from the runway. But we got caught in the prop wash. Our rotary blades got caught in the prop wash of this U-9 Beaver. It had a big rotary cylinder engine, and we got caught in the prop wash, and it inverted us. We flipped over on our backs and basically flew into the mud alongside the end of the runway. And we got stuck in the mud. And what happened is the two door gunners were flung out. The centripetal force just basically flung them out their doors, and they were both killed. As it got stuck in the mud, the front cabin, because that's where the weight was, that's how not the weight, but the aerodynamics forced the front cabin into the ground first. And it crushed on the top of this captain and this warrant officer, and it killed them both. The Daiwi was badly injured and broke every bone in his body from his waist down. He always was in a wheelchair after that. He had to give up his service, and it affected his life, the rest of his life. I ended up on my back in what would have been the ceiling of the helicopter, but anyone who knows anything about helicopters, that's where the motor and the transmission is. So when it hit the ground, the motor and the transmission came through the ceiling, pushed through the ceiling, and I ended up on my back, kind of pinned on the top of the transmission. So I was kind of splayed out on the transmission, and Shelley's smiling for a reason here. So at that point, the only thing, I was still conscious, almost. The Daiwi was not, everybody else was dead. And there was a small slit between what was formerly the bottom of the door of the aircraft, and now the mud. And he was screaming, and all I could smell was the Jet B fuel flowing into this area that we were in. And I didn't want to die via fire. I just didn't think it was a good idea. And so I grabbed him by his collar, and I shoved him through that little hole. And by that time, people had come up, other military professionals had come up, and they started pulling on his arms and pulling him through. And he passed out from the pain. And at some point, I started digging. I didn't think, it was kind of chunkier than my Daiwi, and I didn't think I was going to be able to get through the hole. So I started digging so I could get through. Meantime, the sparks had caught fire on the fuel in the back of the aircraft that was leaking in the back of the aircraft. And so they panicked, and they grabbed my arm and literally just pulled me through the hole. And I had broken several ribs, injured my back, and I had broken a collarbone. And so when they did that, they pulled on the arm that was associated with the broken collarbone, and I just passed out. Next thing I knew, I was waking up in Bentui Hospital in Kanto. So I did have to leave country for a while, but I came back. But I had a lot of time to think in the hospital, and I thought about all the bad things that could have come from that event, including not having survived it. And the time that I spent in the hospital, mostly thinking about that and being very grateful in consideration of what had happened to everybody else, of what had happened to me, because I knew, A, I was going to survive, and B, I was going to walk normally again, I hope, although I've had 6 operations on my back since then. But it gave me a lot of time to think about what the rest of my life is going to be about. And it sounds to me like Fenn had started to put these things together for himself. And so those moments really are the ones that, no matter how big your circle of friends is or what you choose to do in your life, and how you handle the changes that come in your life, it really does make for, if you can resolve it, it does make for a better, more complete, and hero's journey kind of life, even if, like me, what you ended up doing was working as a government contractor and raising kids so that you could put them through college. So everybody gets that opportunity at least once, and everybody gets further the opportunity to decide what they're going to do with the rest of their life from that. Fenn, sounds to me like Fenn made the right set of decisions. But here's the funny part. I know it's not funny, but here's the funny part of that story. So at some point or the other, Shelley has heard all my stories because she asks. And so I told her this story, and she was looking at me like, oh, she just gave me this real curious look. So tell them what you were thinking.
Well, you'd said the rotor went into your back. So I pictured a rotor in somebody's back, the middle of their back, and they'd be going around like a record, right? So I pictured him picking up his Daiwi. He picked up his captain.
On the way around.
On the way around, and
flung himself out the door.
Flung him out the window as he was going around. And I'm like, when I explained all of this to him, I was like, how did you even do that? And he just laughed. He's like, the rotor wasn't moving.
Yeah, the rotor was in the ground. It was the transmission that had pushed up. The transmission operating system. So I just thought it was funnier than the dickens when she was describing us, like spinning around on the rotor and grabbing the Daiwi and throwing him out the door, and then kind of aligning
action
myself.
Film, they probably would have done that.
Yeah, in an action film, it was Bruce Willis doing this part of the story. That's how it would have happened exactly.
Except he probably would have had something on his back so that he wouldn't have been like that injured.
All right. So next week we're going to be covering the last section, which we think of as the epilogue to this story, My War for Me, and then we'll go on to continue with the remainder of the book. But I felt like this was a really good section. Really enjoyed reading through it. Really enjoyed Shelley's analysis of it. Had a great time with it. So, all right, you ready to go to the chat room?
Yeah, but we need to...
What do we need to do?
Take this off.
Oh.
I like doing all the director's stuff here.
Yeah, no, that's one of us has to do it.
There's that picture.
Okay, I put it back in.
Okay.
Okay, so we are about to enter...
So you didn't have this same transition the other day. You changed transitions on me.
Well, it was a mistake. The other transition was a mistake. I don't even know how that happened. I went back to
whoosh, whoosh.
Yeah, the Luma wipe. That was a slide transition. I didn't like it. I went back to our Luma wipe.
Okay, I'm all
I'll
confused.
never get back to the original AGK wipe, which apparently caused brain seizure.
Well, you don't have to have the sound with it.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think it was just the sound. I think there was just a lot of activation.
They thought you would be floating around and throwing Daiwis out the window.
Daiwis we are about to start our chat. Remember, down at the bottom of the chat, you'll find that $sign. So if you want to contribute to our project, by the way, we're just continuing. Somebody thought we're ending it as of my depressing show on Tuesday. We're not giving up on this. As a matter of fact, there's a very good chance, depending on water height and weather, that we're going to do a scouting trip on Saturday, which means we'll have some new pictures for you. I'll be able to experiment.
It's not that new, so we don't like to share it that much because we keep going to the same place.
Yeah.
So we don't like to say, here, look, we went the same place again and took pretty much the same pictures. So, it's not very exciting. But
again, it's dependent on weather because they've been having monsoon class rains up there, and the place that we go isn't a good place to get caught on. If you got caught in, we'd end up overnighting it at least. And the other thing is we've got to do that river crossing, so the water has to be at a reasonable height as opposed to flooded, and we think the monsoons have changed that. But there is a 60% probability we're going on a scouting trip this weekend. We'll have pictures for you next Tuesday, along with some other topic that'll depress you.
Plus, Toby got the new topper on his truck, so he's ready to use that.
Toby got the new color coordinated topper on my truck last night. It looks pretty good. Looks like a now it looks like an SUV is what it looks like a mini SUV. I'm very happy with it. So let's go back here. I'm going to transition you back to full screen, which I could do without having gone back there. Let me make one switch here. And
throwing Daiwis out the window.
Throwing Daiwis. That's going to become a thing. Say, did you throw that Daiwi out the window?
What does that even mean?
Okay, you want to see your chat?
Well, that would be helpful.
That would be helpful. Oh, by the way, we have to quit at 2:00 today, so we got to get better about keeping these within a
day for us.
Reasonable length.
So much going on. All right.
Okay.
Are we ready
Go
to
for it.
zip through these? And let's say hello to all of our friends in the chat room, including William Ortiz, Jeep Girl Jody, 11 Bravo 2 Papa Treasure Finder,
Hooah!
K Pris, K-Pro Chris. Thor. I can't even say that. K-Pris. K-Pro Chris Thor. Holly Purd, thumbs up. Davio 22. Jeep Girl Jody, I said that. Brian Eagle's here. Cindy Guest.
Yay, Brian.
Dave Erickson. The Odious Soul is here.
Hey, Cindy.
Steve Gahagan. Okay, that's it for saying hello.
Wow. Odious Soul, Shannon's in the room. Hi, Shannon. Tipsy's Kiss. Yes, we are, Brian. And this is a really good wine to be tipsy with.
Yeah. Gotta catch up on that wine stuff.
Thank you, William. We're happy to see it. And we're a little bit above the 2,900, so we're on our way to 3,000. So we're looking forward to that. We're hoping in maybe another couple of weeks or so.
K-Pro said that. Who'd you say, William?
Oh. No, at the top.
Oh. Yeah, William and K-Pro. Good. Simmons Middleton. That's a new name.
That sounds very UK, doesn't it?
Simmons Middleton. Very cool. Paula Wood is here. Eric Schmidt.
He should be a doctor. Dr. Middleton.
Eric Schmidt's here.
Toby's come in with another
And thank you
collarbone.
for coming back, Eric, after we disappointed you on Tuesday.
Oh, no, Eric. Sorry. It was kind of depressing, I know. But, hey, it wasn't meant to be depressing. We're just as enthused as we've ever been, and we will continue our search for this damn treasure no matter how many obstacles Forrest Fenn puts in our way.
That's right. And let's see, who else did I say was here? David Dow.
Did you say hi to Davia?
Yes. Toby wears similar shirts often. I never noticed Shelley in the same one twice. Well,
Well, that's because she has
I have a lot of clothes. I'm
She
a
has
clothes
A,
horse.
better fashion sense, and B, she doesn't do all her shopping once a year at Walmart like
I
I
do mine
do.
at Savers. So I
Hey.
can keep trading things out.
Savers is good.
That's right. Bill Cross is here from Texas.
Hey,
Sea
Bill.
Monkification. She felt his material. That's from Seinfeld, isn't it? Oh, look at that. We got a cha-ching.
I want you to guess who that is.
I bet it's John Bobbitt.
It's John Bobbitt.
It's either that or Paul Ammons. We
Yeah.
have these
Thank
two
you,
guys
John
who are
Bobbitt.
always really supportive.
Thank you, John Bobbitt. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Is
That's
it
very kind of you.
question?
He has a...
Click the top 20.
Well, I don't want to do that because he does have a question there. What it's going to do is it's going to screw up my chat if I do that. He doesn't have a question, but he has a question in the chat room.
Okay, we'll go
So
on
the
down
question
there and
is,
find it.
let's answer it because
Where is
basically AGK is it's right above his donation.
Okay.
AGK, is Forrest Fenn going to make any more appearances? John Bobbitt, I've said 2 or 3 times now that every time I'm not going to answer it because every time I say I don't think he does some sort of surprise thing. I do know that there are interviews still to come out. I do know he did an interview just last Saturday at Collected Works.
He's doing one this weekend, probably.
And there's a very good chance that he's doing another interview this weekend. Now, those are print publications, online and print publications, not television or other visual media. But he hasn't stopped. He hasn't stopped the promotion. He's going to continue to do that. So we can assume that whether or not it's television appearance, it's definitely going to be continued promotion. And I think he's just going to be cautious about the television appearances because, if Nightline calls or 2020 calls or Good Morning America calls and wants to shoot an interview, I don't see how he can turn them down. I don't think it's in his nature.
I wouldn't.
To turn him down. So
2020, if you're watching, call me. We got another super chat from William Ortiz.
Well, thank you, William. I like
Yeah.
him because his super chats are iOS. Okay, he's got a question for us. Do you feel out of all of the chapters, this is the only one that touches on imagination? Forrest said imagination is more important than knowledge. So would it be possible there is the most important information in this chapter? So I have mixed feelings about that, William. I think it has the most important information in terms of the analysis of Fenn's adult character versus what we see in a lot of the early part of the book, the analysis of Fenn's childhood character. And so what comes with this particular chapter, not only in its length, the advantage is, of course, as we say often, it's 20% of the book. So it's a great opportunity under stressful circumstances, under the stress of his time in Vietnam, to analyze Fenn in his character, maybe not in terms of clues. And you know, we've also said before, we're not very good at identifying clues in the book. We feel like there's a real tendency, as we said last week, to start either trivializing the puzzle or making it complex beyond the need. You know, the opposite of, there's got to be something, the opposite of Occam's razor. But I think what's important about this chapter...
chaos.
Right. Don't get me started. But I think what's important about this chapter is that because he's under the stress of his time in Vietnam, we can actually learn more about Forrest Fenn that puts it all into perspective. And I think if you saw the show that we did on Tuesday, one of the comments I made was, we're giving up understanding the poem. The solution to finding the treasure is not in the poem, it's inside Fenn. And this is the chapter, in my opinion, that gives me the most insight into the nature and thoughtfulness of the adult Forrest Fenn, because the childhood Forrest Fenn didn't have a lot of the characteristics that this adult has acquired over his lifetime.
I think that makes a lot of sense because, of course, like he said, there was a lot of stress, probably more stress on Forrest during that part of his life, that the war, the Vietnam War. There was more stress on him during that part of his life than any other time. And when you stress somebody to that point, you're going to find out who they really are, or what they're really made of. Because they will, you know, it's like, it's easy to be our best selves when we're comfortable and well fed and have a roof over our heads and, you know, just going along merrily. It's easy to be our best selves, but it's not easy to be our best selves when we're in the kind of conditions that are required by being at war. So I think that makes a really good point.
Or any other kind of stress.
Heavy stress.
But it's not the stress. So losing a family member can create stress,
sure,
but it's not continuous. It has an end point.
And you don't know when a war is going to end, so you're constantly just in a waiting pattern.
And I think, so any other event in your life that has that interminable potential for...
Well, when he got cancer and he didn't know if he was going to die or not, that's another period of heavy stress.
Yeah.
And what did he do during that time? He came up with the idea to leave behind a treasure for people to find. So this is who he is.
He responds well to stress. Okay, so how far down would we get?
I think we're...
Oh, William Ortiz is recommending, if you get a chance, watch some of Shelley's videos.
Yes, thesofterside.me.
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're going to do another one.
And subscribe.
Do another one tonight?
Tonight, 7 o'clock. Exciting. Tell us about your personality type and how it affects your relationships. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, scrolling down.
Yeah.
So David Dass says, how do you know it was the grave marker in Vietnam? David, we don't know for certain, but it was the only grave marker, if I remember correctly, that is mentioned in the Thrill of the Chase. And if you apply the Forrest Fenn...
And it was just right before this.
And if you apply the Forrest Fenn died in 2010 rule, it would have been the only grave marker that had ever come up. There are grave markers mentioned in the scrapbooks, but we have to assume that this is the one that he's referring to.
Steve Gehagen says, to me, this is the spark that starts his legacy.
I agree.
Jeep Girl Jody, I laugh at Fenn. He was passing out another dimension, subliminal genes, the Philly caper. Everyone is important. My question is, who is JF?
He's an artist.
Okay, those didn't go together at all.
Sketch artist. Yeah, we won't cover that.
Non sequitur there.
Yeah. June Fenn. No, I think the resolution of and correct me if it's wrong, but I think the resolution of who is JF has been discussed, and that is it was a war correspondent that Fenn had made friends with. So,
Joel Lewicki's here. Hey, Joel. Lori,
hey, Joel.
yeah.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
Oh, he says that. Long time no treasure hunt.
Yeah. Must have got busy with work. Lori James, it's a realization that to be remembered, he needs to be more than a lost gravesite, and how easily millions of people can be wiped out and leave no lasting legacy, lost and forgotten.
Wow, good analysis, Lori. I like it.
And that's great. Now, go one step further for me and relate that to the treasure hunt.
Nice.
And this is what I have to do every week.
Jeep Girl, I think he may have had altitude sickness.
I don't know. He was a pilot for a long time, so I think he just got very philosophical in the dark, in the night, and he went down into that, into those alpha, maybe even theta brain waves, very relaxed state where you can meditate, and that could be where he was, and these thoughts that had been brewing in the back for a while came forward and showed themselves at that point. So Aaron Baumer.
That's a new name.
Yeah.
Hey, from Canada. Welcome, Aaron.
And Homer Brown and Rick Plank. ID Falls.
Homer's been a bad boy.
Idaho Falls, maybe?
Cincinnati. Rick from Cincinnati.
More eccentrics should plant valuables. The press from the hunt has brought him much more fame and fortune, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, but the Andy Warhol rule applies. Everybody's entitled to 15 minutes of fame. What Fenn has going for him is that the longer the treasure is out there, the longer his name lasts.
Aaron says, Shelley, your voice is so soulful, easy to listen to. More of your thoughts, although Tobe's a book. Well, I'll tell you what, I have this amazing series on my channel, The Softer Side. It comes out on Wednesdays, and it's meditation, and it's just my voice and some pretty pictures. And in fact, yesterday's was about improving and increasing your sex life, so check that out on my channel.
With that soothing
if you
voice.
enjoy my voice.
Yeah. If I need to take a nap, what I do is I just have her start talking, and it puts me right to sleep.
I don't think you even need that.
Yeah. Davio can relate to the broken bones. He fell 70 feet and broke a lot of bones. Good to be alive. I know that feeling, Davio.
Lori wants to know, wow, to survive that, the helicopter crash. Ever wonder why you? I told him it was so he could hang out till he met me.
That's what I would ask her. I wonder why it was me. Her answer would be, so you can meet me.
That's right.
Lori, the answer to your question is yes. You do wonder why you. But again, if you spend too much time thinking about it, you end up stuck in that. You end up stuck in that moment and not getting out. You just have to accept that fate has something planned for you, and I always felt like fate did. I got to do with my life and career what I wanted to do. I got to raise children. I got to raise babies, foster babies. I got to do everything I wanted to do with my life, and now
you got to meet me and work with me even better. So look who's here. Teton Trapper.
Hey, Teton. Dang, brother.
The guy with the glasses on his ears.
Yeah.
He cracks me
Teton
up.
has a video out. I think you should see it because it's fun. How's that? I'm not
it's
sure.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
At first I thought it was his son Jason wearing a fake beard, and then I'm like, what's with the glasses on the ears?
So it's a parody video, but it's fun. Go watch it. Teton Trapper.
Jeep Girl Jody says, so inside cover, right side, ever notice the plane? Did Fenn crash?
I suppose we could. I haven't. Let's see. Oh, that one right there. Yeah. Yeah, that's...
he did sort of crash
was that
once.
the crash or the bad landing?
He he was shot down and he landed and he limped away. So it could have been kind of a crash.
He limped away from it. I think it was a bad landing more than it was a crash.
Holly says, I hope you finished your project. What project?
The project that I was working on last night that prevented us from doing the show.
That.
It is finished.
Yeah.
I ended up finishing around 11 o'clock last night.
Davia wants to know, are you changing your idea of the way you are coming up with your solve?
So Davio, you have to I suppose.
Much.
No, it isn't.
Really.
You've got to remember that our solution has always been the recognition of the first two clues, where warm water's halt, intersecting with Canyon Down. We've never spent time working out the home of Brown and all those things, expecting that we're going to see them. We're at the point we're at in our location where we could say, if we wanted to, we're at no place for the meek. The problem with all of that is you end up spending time, instead of looking for the treasure, looking for the next, whatever the next clue might be.
The end is ever drawing nigh.
Right, exactly.
Place for the meek.
Instead of, we know the location we think the treasure is in, generally speaking. So our plan, as of the conversation we had last Tuesday, is not we're not giving up on the search. We're just going to spend less time worrying about looking for the clues and more time looking for the treasure is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember.
We're still in the same place.
Yeah, we're not. We haven't left the place that we have. Our perception of where warm water's halt and Canyon Down got us there. Yeah. We're comfortable with it.
We're just kind of getting the obstacles out of our way. Let's just get to that treasure.
Right. The little girl from India could have gotten to where we are, and then you end up in this beautiful river valley that strikes me as exactly the kind of place Fenn would have hid the treasure. And the problem, well, it's not a problem. Our challenge is that it's a 3.5-hour drive up there. It's another hour to prep for the hike. And so you have a limited amount of time you can spend, and it's the same hike, right? It's the same 45 minutes to the location at which we think where the treasure may reside. And so we could spend a lot of that time looking for additional clues, or we can just go to the spot and start looking for that treasure, and that's what we're doing.
Chatter says, was the Fenn slip in the bookstore? And he's talking about the Moby Dickens one. And he didn't want to reveal his age when he planted the treasure because he didn't want people to check rental car records.
I don't know if that was a slip as much as counterintelligence, right? Because half of Fenn's answers are counterintelligence, so that you could assume, he meant he did rent a car. Therefore, if he rented a car, he didn't leave his Santa Fe home. He rented it in Cody or West Yellowstone, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just to us. That's just. It's like the sedan comment, right? So your first reaction when he says sedan, here's what I want you to do. When I say the word sedan, I want you to write in the chat what car that makes you think of, because that's what Fenn did when he used that word. So you come to the conclusion, a rental sedan, how far could you go in that?
I'm at the bottom.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Chatter is a new name.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
John Bobbitt, again, thank you. That was really kind, and we're very grateful.
And William Ortiz.
And
B.J. Chambly's here.
Okay. So apparently Homer is being a really bad boy.
K-Pro. Oh, Joe Fox is here. Joe Fox. That mean no poem breakdown anymore? That's what it means. I don't know. We go through phases. Toby goes through phases so often it'll make your head spin. So
like
just wait around.
Like
it'll come around again.
On the transmission
right?
of a crashed Huey.
On the rotor. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Tossing out your die weeds.
Die wee. It is a tragedy that those people died, and I'm so sorry. I shouldn't laugh.
It was my fault for telling the story that I did, and her fault for never having crashed in a Huey.
And just the thought of those men being thrown from the helicopter, it makes me very sad. So to laugh at the picture of it helps. So K-Pro wants to know, what info are you going to use moving forward with your new strategy?
The info that I collect with my senses. My eyes, my ears, my tastes, because I'll be tasting those pine cones to make sure they're.
Well, how are you an intuitive if you're doing your sensories?
Well, I think, I hadn't gotten that far. So it's a combination of your physical senses, what you're feeling in that area, and your intuition. And my intuition about this location that we're in is very strong. It's an intuition based. Intuition is all about your experience. The combination of things like your experience, your education, but then what you feel inside, your environmental situation, etc. But I have a much stronger feeling about the use of my both physical and metaphysical senses. To me, it's going to be, like Shelley said, we're in the same location. We're not leaving that location until we find the treasure, or until. There is no until we find the treasure. And so I think we're at the Jeremy Parnell and I had a comment exchange on that video where he did that, and so he came. I made a comment. I'm not a poem purist anymore. I'm not a book purist. I'm not a 3 books etc. purist. I'm a holistic purist. And he called me a Fennyist because I made up it has to be Fenny. No, it was Fennyist because I made up the word Fenny to describe our location. So it's Fenny enough. So we're the Fennyist. Man, that didn't sound right to me, so I said it was okay as long as we used it in a way that sounded like Fennyist. So I'm a Fennyist.
Oh, a Fennyist.
Yeah. Yes. So I am ignoring a lot of what's in the book, what's in the poem. I'm just taking what I feel and going with it. Yep. And going with it.
Because you got to do that.
And honestly,
otherwise you're flitting around and never landing on anything.
Right. For the time that we get, I started to tell you the story of. It takes us 3.5 hours to get up there. We can be held off by something as simple as a change in depth of a water from 2.2 feet to 3.2 feet. It can be changed by rain up in the mountains, et cetera, et cetera. So
fire. Don't forget
fire. There's a lot of planning that goes into each one of these, and we're very fortunate to live within 3.5 hours of our search area. A lot of people don't have that. But if I'm going to be boots on the ground, I'm not going to waste it by starting to spend an hour and a half trying to figure out what the Homer Brown means, because I still don't know what the Homer Brown means. And I go out in the forest, and it could be, a beaver dam, a beaver lodge. It could be a place where trout fish. I could spend the rest of my life trying to figure out what he meant by the Homer Brown instead of boots on the ground looking for that treasure. And that's our strategy. Our strategy is we're not poem purists, we're treasure purists. We're going to go spend time looking for the treasure.
I like that. And Gage Cockerham says, I feel the same way, Toby, as you do. Almost impossible to solve the poem without the information given.
Well, you've got to figure out. I'm going to say 350,000, but I don't believe that there's that many searchers. There's, let's say, on the average, 100,000 searchers who have been looking through that poem, trying to figure it out, spent billions of hours discussing it in forums, and no one, to the best of my knowledge, has come up with a good resolution for some of these places, including Begin It Where Warm Water Salt, because if I were to say to this room, my basis for Begin It for Warm Water Salt is the New Mexico Fishing Guide, literally every one of you would come up with an alternative to that suggestion. So we're at a stage where to heck with
I know, right? So they want us to pinpoint things so they can argue with us about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're just going to be all fluffy now.
Yeah. So we're going to go out. We're going to look for the treasure. We're going to take a picture, and we're going to keep looking for it until we find it. We have a trip planned at the end of August that's going to put us on at the launch point for 5 consecutive days. But there's a very good chance, like I said, depending on weather and water levels, we might go out this weekend. And if we do, we're going to have pictures, and we're going to share those with you. And we're going to spend time, the little time that we have up there, looking for the treasure instead of debating where warm water salt or where the Homer Brown. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean to be offensive or critical or any of anything else. This is, I'll say it again, this is our personal strategy that we decided upon when we realized we have a limited amount of time, as close as we are to this treasure, to look for this damn treasure. So we either have to figure out this is the place that he put it, and we need to just, move rocks and turn over logs and find it, or spend the rest of our lives in research trying to figure out what no paddle up your creek means.
All right. So Debbie Teal and Hex Brown are here, and I'm at the bottom.
Okay, Hex Star.
And we've got about 1 minute left.
Okay, we got 1 minute before we have to sign off, guys.
Michael Cohen is here.
Michael
I hope you're recording this, Michael.
Michael, are you recording this conversation?
23 Monarcha. I can head out with you to your spot after my boots on the ground in a few weeks, says K-Pro.
23 Monarcha, it's that thing. That's the point. Clues do not work by themselves. They need each other. We can't disagree with that, right? We have no reason to disagree with that. What we can say is, you keep working on the clues, we're just going to keep looking for the treasure. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. That's just the decision we've made. We can either spend the rest of our lives trying to decide what all of that means, or we can look for the treasure. We're looking for the treasure.
Steve Gahagan says he's going to try to make it down there over Labor Day weekend and could meet you in Bernalillo for some green, black, or red tea if you like.
Yay, we'll do that. In a few weeks.
Davio's emailed you something.
K-Pro, you're welcome to join us. See, Lori James, that's the sedan question, right? That's exactly what he wanted you to think. Did you know that a Jeep Cherokee by default is a sedan? Because a sedan is a body style, not a chassis style. So yeah, that's what he wanted you to do. When you said sedan, the first thing that you came up with is like I said, a 1958 Chevy Biscayne 4-door sedan, that rides 4 inches above the ground. That's what it is. A Jeep Cherokee, a Jeep Wagoneer. Those are both sedans.
I'm at the bottom.
Okay.
We're just about done.
Okay. Yeah, we got to get going here.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going up to Steve Gahagan right there.
Toby and Charlie like margaritas. We do. We had some the other night.
We were at the
Italian
Beppo
margaritas.
Buca. Yeah.
The Beppo.
Buca di Beppo Italian restaurant. I had a craving for Italian. The challenge is, for when you go to this restaurant, is their margaritas are that big, great margaritas, and they're Italian margaritas like I like them. They make them with amaretto as opposed to Grand Marnier or triple sec, and so they're just really, really good. But they serve you family style, so for the two of you, you spend a fortune, but you end up taking enough food home for. As a matter of fact, that's what we're having tonight. We're having leftovers from Tuesday night,
and Toby's bread,
and a new batch of my bread. Yeah.
Danny A.G. Toby, what's your input on subtle hints? Do you think they are in the stories, writing, or pictures?
Danny, anything is possible, and we don't care. We're going to look for the treasure. We're not going to spend time to figure out his subtle hints or his aberrations around the edge or the meaning of...
Yeah, we go over that each week when we're in our book club. So today, all we can say is that the poem is a summary of the thoughts that he's had throughout his life.
Yeah. And assembled in that way.
That's not going to get you to the treasure. It's just a thought.
Ed Vandenbrink will be boots on the ground in a couple of months in New Mexico. Ed, if you come through Albuquerque, let us know. We'll get together for coffee and take some pictures and share them with our friends. Okay, closing up the chat.
Closed.
Okay, transition.
Wait,
not yet.
I should have a slamming door thing for closing the chat.
Oh, when you close it? Well, then I'll move it back to the sliding right to left.
It's closed. Okay, this is as close as I have.
Okay, here we go. Ready for rats. It's already... oh, no, we're doing okay. We're fine. Okay, so here is today's clue. Remember, your gift is... Where is it?
Aunt Lucy's cookbook with all the great New Mexican flavors.
All those great New Mexican dishes. If you've come through New Mexico and you've acquired a taste for New Mexican dishes, this is the book to have.
I gave one to my mom over the weekend, and she was very happy.
So answer in the comments box below. If you're not qualified for to win, don't answer it so that somebody who's qualified can pick up on that. Only your first entry counts. New winners only. 6-hour time limit, and you must be a subscriber to win. And what I mean by new winners is if you've won anything in the past, you can't compete for this one. And again, if you know the answer and you can't win anyway, don't put the answer so that other people can figure it out. You ready?
I am. Are you ready?
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, and.
It's a picture of me.
It is a picture of you. So see, that one is a hard one.
Was that from March?
Oh.
You didn't answer me, but now you did. Oh, like they're not going to figure it out on their own without my help. They figure out faster than I do.
Yeah, true.
All right. So, we're done. Make sure you tune in tonight on thesofterside.me. And Toby and I will be back after drinking the rest of this wine. We should be having a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about personality types and how they affect your relationships. So tune in tonight at 7 o'clock. Now, what else are we talking about?
We have our It's All About You video tomorrow. Another searcher. I think you'll like this one.
Yeah.
You should like them all.
You
They're
guys
good
have
people.
seen this guy before, so you're excited to see him
again. And then
again.
there's a very good, I'm going to say a 60% probability we're going out on a scouting trip this weekend, so we should have some new pictures for you on Tuesday, but we'll also have a new topic for you on Tuesday. We'll just, the pictures will be a byproduct of that. And we should see one of the print publication articles coming out in the near future. As a matter of fact, if I check and it's out, I'll share it in the comments box below. So,
and in the blog, of course.
And on the blog.
Yeah.
Right.
If you haven't subscribed to the blog yet, check it out. It's at agypsieskiss.com. Thank you all for being here today, for all your questions and comments, and for the super chat provided by John Bobbitt and William Ortiz.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was very kind.
And for A Gypsy's Kiss, the book club, I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye.